Welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something really fundamental. It underpins so much of our modern world, the movement of goods.
That's right.
You sent over some really compelling material looking at the state of the trucking industry right now and, well, how it's navigating some significant headwinds in supply chains.
Exactly. What we're seeing is a fascinating mix of factors, really.
Yeah.
You have this well-documented and persistent shortage of truck drivers, and the projections suggest this is going to continue being a major issue for, well, for years to come.
Right.
And then you layer on top of that a freight market that's anything but stable. Fuel prices, insurance costs constantly fluctuating. It puts immense pressure on the entire system.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, maybe starting with that driver shortage.
Yeah.
You mentioned projections. The American Trucking Associations are forecasting, what, tens of thousands of drivers short soon?
Yeah, tens of thousands. It's a huge number.
That is huge. Now, given that, and the sort of shaky economic landscape you just described,
Yeah.
it might seem logical for carriers to, tighten their belts.
You'd think so, perhaps.
But the material you've shared suggests quite the opposite, that investing in drivers is actually becoming a top priority. What's the core thinking behind that?
Well, the core insight here isn't just that there's a shortage. It's that the industry is realizing that retaining drivers, keeping the ones they have through investment is more strategic and, frankly, more cost-effective than constantly trying to find new ones.
Ah,
Think about the costs tied up in high turnover recruitment, training, lost productivity. It's a significant drain.
right.
So this focus on drivers is really a shift. It's moving away from just pure recruitment, thinking more about retention and ultimately stability.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The material really shines a light on this growing emphasis on driver wellness. For so long, the image, it's been those incredibly long hours, days, weeks away from home, the sheer physical toll of the job.
Absolutely.
It sounds like the industry is finally waking up to the impact this has on the actual people behind the wheel.
It really seems that way, those traditional demands of the job. They led to significant physical and mental exhaustion, what we often call burnout, and that directly fueled those high turnover rates we talked about.
Yeah.
What's fascinating now is the comprehensive approach many carriers are taking. It's not just about, say, physical health anymore. There's a growing recognition of how critical mental well-being is for drivers.
So we're talking about acknowledging the human element,
Yeah.
really, seeing it as a critical factor in efficiency and stability. But what does that actually, look like on the ground? What specific wellness things are being put in place?
The material details a pretty broad range of programs, actually, designed to support drivers in different ways.
Like what?
Well, we're seeing more widespread offering of things like preventative health screenings, making it easier for drivers to stay on top of their physical health.
Yeah.
And, crucially, access to virtual healthcare is expanding. That's invaluable for people spending long stretches on the road.
Oh, absolutely.
There are also increasing efforts to encourage physical activity fitness incentives, programs tailored for the road. And maybe most significantly, there's this growing awareness and provision of mental health support. Things like counseling services, dedicated hotlines.
That feels like a big step.
It is. And we're also seeing educational resources focused on nutrition and stress management, tailored specifically to the unique demands of a truck driver's lifestyle.
It sounds like a real paradigm shift. It's not just about the truck and the load anymore. It's about the person operating it.
Exactly.
And the sources also highlight improvements to the actual working conditions too, right? Things like better quality rest areas.
Yes, which you can imagine makes a huge difference to daily life.
Totally.
And a focus on optimizing schedules to allow for more time at home. They're even looking at how to promote better sleep routines, which must be incredibly challenging with those irregular schedules.
Yeah, no kidding.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
these initiatives, they aren't just about, being nice to drivers. There's evidence suggesting that when drivers feel healthier, more supported, they're more satisfied in their jobs.
Which means they stay longer.
Precisely. That directly translates to lower turnover rates, which, as we discussed, means significant cost savings and stability benefits for carriers.
Huh.
And beyond that, well-rested, healthy drivers contribute to safer operations and increased overall efficiency. It all ties together.
The material you shared had some really concrete examples that bring this to life. Things like specialized fitness and nutrition plans designed for life on the road.
Right, tailored resources.
And readily available mental health resources, those improved policies around rest. It really illustrates that the industry is trying to meet drivers where they are, address the specific challenges they face day to day.
And it's important to understand that improved wellness is only, well, one piece of the puzzle here.
Right, there's more to it.
The material makes a strong argument that boosting driver retention also hinges heavily on competitive compensation and comprehensive support. You can offer a lot of wellness perks, but if the pay isn't sufficient, it's going to be an uphill battle.
That makes perfect sense. You need both. And the numbers seem to back that up, don't they? I think it was the Financial Times reporting a significant, what was it, 10% increase in truckload driver pay over the last couple of years.
That's the figure, yes. A 10% increase. That's a notable shift.
It really is. And it's not just about the base salary anymore, is it? The sources point to other things, like performance-based bonuses.
Performance bonuses, yes, and more robust benefits packages. Things like retirement plans, enhanced insurance options. That starts to paint a picture of trucking as a much more sustainable and maybe attractive long-term career path, not just a job.
Right, building a career.
Precisely. And the focus extends beyond just the money, too. This growing trend towards flexible scheduling is a really crucial factor.
How so?
Well, it directly addresses that long-standing issue of drivers spending excessive time away from their families.
Yeah, the home time issue.
Exactly. By adjusting routes, shift patterns, allowing for more regular home time, carriers are tackling work-life balance head-on, reducing driver stress.
And that's huge. How do you even quantify the value of that improved quality of life?
You almost can't. But for many drivers, it's a significant factor, maybe the deciding factor in whether they stay with a company or not.
It absolutely would be for me. And the emphasis on creating career advancement opportunities that also stood out in the material.
Investing in training programs, establishing clear pathways for professional growth.
It signals that this isn't just a temporary job, right? It's a field where you can develop skills, build a long-lasting career.
That's a critical point. It's about reframing the perception of trucking, moving it from simply a job to a respected profession.
Yeah.
And those various recognition and support initiatives, things like safe driving awards, employee recognition programs, fostering open communication channels, they might seem like smaller gestures.
But they add up.
They really do. They contribute significantly to making drivers feel valued, feel heard. That sense of appreciation can have a profound impact on job satisfaction and loyalty.
So putting it all together, it really does sound like we're seeing a fundamental shift in how the trucking industry is approaching its workforce.
I think that's fair to say.
The sources suggest this isn't just about implementing a few quick fixes to address the immediate shortage. It feels more like a long-term commitment, building a more sustainable and, well, engaged driver base.
Exactly. The material really underscores that. This increased focus on better working conditions, comprehensive support, it isn't solely a reaction to the current labor shortage. It's about laying the groundwork for a more resilient and stable future for the entire industry. By prioritizing the retention of experienced drivers over just constantly recruiting new ones, carriers can benefit hugely from the skills and knowledge of their seasoned professionals.
And it's encouraging that this shift isn't just happening at the corporate level. The increasing importance of things like flexible scheduling, open communication, actively asking for driver feedback in daily operations, that suggests a more collaborative approach throughout.
That's right. It's about cultivating a culture where drivers feel like their voices are actually heard and their needs are being actively addressed, not just talked about.
Okay.
Looking ahead, the sources basically reiterate that this focus on driver well-being and fair compensation isn't just a nice-to-have. It's a practical and strategic imperative, essential for navigating the ongoing economic and logistical complexities the industry faces.
So ultimately, by prioritizing the well-being, the compensation, the career prospects of their drivers, the trucking industry isn't just doing right by its workforce.
No, it's more than that.
It's also ensuring its own long-term stability.
Yeah.
And the reliable movement of goods that, frankly, underpins our entire economy. It's a compelling example of how investing in people can lead to really significant systemic benefits.
Absolutely. By comprehensively addressing the needs of their drivers, the industry is indeed building a foundation for a more resilient future. And, as the sources indicate, maybe a more human-centered one, too.
Okay, so to recap our deep dive today, the trucking industry is actively confronting these persistent driver shortages and the tricky, fluctuating freight market. How? by making substantial investments in their drivers.
Real investments.
This includes a whole range of programs aimed at improving both physical and mental wellness, offering more competitive pay and benefits packages,
Better pay, better benefits.
and implementing meaningful changes to enhance that crucial work-life balance, plus creating clearer pathways for career advancement, making it a profession, not just a job.
And it's crucial for listeners to understand that these changes, they have a direct impact, a real effect on the reliability of the supply chains that are just so vital to our entire economy.
Absolutely.
If you're interested in understanding the forces shaping the world around you, the evolution of the trucking industry and its workforce is definitely a key area to watch.
It really is. And it prompts a fascinating final question, doesn't it? This growing emphasis on the well-being of essential workers in such a foundational industry like trucking. Could it be a signal? Maybe a sign of a broader shift in how labor is valued and supported across various sectors in the future.
That's an interesting thought.
What potential long-term implications might this trend have for other industries and maybe the workforce as a whole? It's definitely something provocative to consider.